Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am so excited to be moderating this amazing panel today. First, a huge thank you to the Institute for Digital Transformation for making this opportunity happen and for us all to have a discussion on this really great topic, the future of work. The future of work is really bright, and there's just amazing things happening with the explosion of generative AI. I also would like to thank you to the amazing Robert Field, brilliant leader and CIO, for connecting all of us today. And remember to tune in next week, December 19th at noon, as Rob is leading an amazing show on the era of the digital series. And he'll be back with Institute fellow members giving a leadership give back and their wisdom for what's to come. So with that, as I mentioned, I'm really excited for our conversation today with these amazing leaders in the innovation and technology space. Today, we are going to explore the journey and impact of AI. The development of AI is a rapidly evolving field, and it's difficult to say for sure what the future holds. I know a number of us are working on many different projects. And one thing is for certain, it is clear that AI has the potential to, I can't even talk today. It's one of those days, right? It has the potential to revolutionize many aspects of our lives. AI is already being used in a wide range of applications, and its use is only going to continue to grow in the future. The last year has been a remarkable year with the explosion of AI, machine learning, not to mention the advent of generative AI and the availability of large language models. We know AI has been happening for many, many years. However, now with the access to all of this at our fingertips, there's so many exciting things happening in both the short term and the long term, and it's got some major impact. Finally, the future of work will continue to have major impact on all of the industries. So I want to quickly turn to our amazing panelists today and do some introductions. The first is Dan Turchin. He is the CEO and founder of 𝗵𝗄𝗆, which is the leading AI platform for IT and HR employee service automation. He is a member of the Forbes Technology Council and has hosted over 250 episodes of the popular AI and Future of Work podcast, which I encourage everyone to sign up for. It's an amazing podcast. Prior to 𝗵𝗄𝗆, Dan was the CEO of AI Ops leader Insight Finder. Previously, he co-founded Astound, an AI-first enterprise platform for HR and IT, and was vice president and product at DevOps leader for Big Panda, chief product officer at a security analytics company called ExcelOps, which is now Fortinet, and also a senior director of product strategy at ServiceNow. He has co-founded many, many companies. He's an active angel investor and startup advisor with a portfolio of over 30 companies. He has a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of BA and degrees from Stanford University. And please be sure to follow him on Twitter. Welcome, Dan. Second panelist I'd like to introduce, it is my pleasure to introduce Peter Scavuzzo, who's Principal and Chief Information and Digital Officer of Marcum, a highly recognized top accounting firm in the country. He creates and executes the strategic technology roadmap across all of Marcum companies. He is the firm leader in digital transformation and advocates leveraging technology to ensure long-term viability and competitiveness. He earned his BS and MS in engineering from NYU's Polytechnic School of Engineering, and Peter currently serves on the board of Inspire CIO, our New York City chapter, serves as chair of the Technology Task Force for 𝗂𝗑𝗄𝗃 International, and is on multiple committees, is an active public speaker on topics such as generative AI, innovation, and digital transformation. Also, I like huge congratulations go to Peter as the winner of the Large Corporate Orby Award for the New York City CIO chapter. Be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn, and welcome, Peter.
Thanks.
Final panelist today, I'm very excited to introduce Steve Costigan, who's a visionary leader and entrepreneur in the tech industry. He's currently serving as the founder and CEO of Metaspark, an innovative AI-powered project management platform. With a career spanning over a decade, Stefan has established himself as a forward-thinking executive, blending not only his technological expertise and along with a strategic business acumen. He is the chairman of the board for CloudScale.io, a company that drives innovation and digital transformation. I will say that we are using them here at 𝗁𝗲𝗃. Amazing, amazing work, amazing product. Prior to that, he has worked with Microsoft for several years. Stephen has graduated with a degree in computer science from the University of Massachusetts. He is the recipient of the esteemed Microsoft Visionary Award and the 𝗓𝗏𝗏 Award, recognizing his contributions to market growth and innovative solutions. Please also connect with him on LinkedIn. So, again, amazing panel, and I'm grateful to be here with you all and excited for our conversation. So where do we get started? This technology is changing so fast. And well, before we dive into questions, I also encourage questions of the audience. Please feel free to send those in, and I will go back and forth not only with our questions and topics, but also weave those questions in from our audience. So the first question, I'd love to briefly touch on the topic of how all of your organizations are dealing with the explosion in driving value. First, Dan, let's start with you. How should enterprises identify the right problems where AI can add value?
Hey, Andrea.
Hi.
Hey, community, LinkedIn Live community, good to be here. Let me start by saying there has never been a better time to be a human. Certainly, there's never been a better time to be a technology leader. More than ever, our teams, our organizations, our customers are looking to us to make sense of some of the confusion related to this constant barrage of new technologies that are entering the market. I, for one, am solidly on Team Human. I've read this book before, and we win. Technology is here to make us all live our best lives. Now, in terms of picking the right business problem, think of it as a 5-step process. So the first thing that you're going to want to do as a technology leader is poll the business and ask where there's some friction that might be holding the company back. The capabilities of the technology are vast and as profound as everyone thinks, but it's important that we ground the conversation in a very tangible problem that the business identifies. The second step is we want to pick a metric. So figure out what's broken about that process. Maybe it's taking too long to do a task, or it's creating friction in the marketplace, or our R&D team is slowed down, or there is too high a rate of errors for, let's say, sales ops. Pick a metric associated with the problem. Identify the stakeholders. Number 3, figure out who cares about that business problem internally so that you can identify the data that's going to be required to train the models that are going to be required to solve the problem. Next thing, think about having a framework that defines how you're going to practice AI responsibly. So I want everyone to get comfortable thinking about what could go wrong if AI makes automated decisions that are unintended. We need to get very familiar with some of the drawbacks, and we'll talk about that as we get deeper into the conversation. Then the last key component is be prepared to measure the progress of your AI first initiative and reward those who adopt it. So put them on a pedestal, congratulate them, be prepared to communicate the results based on the business metric out to the business, out to the community. That's how to pick a business problem. That's how you win with AI.
Thank you, Dan. First of all, I love the concept of Team Human. Great. I mean, we really, have to think and consider all of that when we dive into AI, that we don't forget that element. And it's such an important aspect. So thank you for bringing that up. And to the piece about measuring progress, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about that further in the program, but measuring progress and rewarding those that are ready to dive in and experiment, because that's really how we learn, right? And so love those ideas and concepts. Thank you for sharing. Stephen, let's turn it over to you. How does centralizing data and AI models as intellectual property shape a company's competitive future?
Sure. Thank you so much. And I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, LinkedIn Live community and team. So, our summary and thesis really revolves around an approach focused on our clients' data and centralizing that data, consolidating it into advanced database platforms, and then connecting those platforms to large language models. Then taking that centralized AI system and connecting it to new and legacy applications, and really centralizing data and AI models as intellectual property assets in this way really enables companies to establish a unique competitive edge in the market. So by developing these proprietary assets, businesses can build innovative solutions that are not easily replicated by competitors. And we think this is a very important, focus area for companies as they move into the future of work and deal with some of the issues that AI can bring to the business from a profitability standpoint. Intellectual property in AI also opens avenues for licensing and creating new revenue streams for these organizations. And that's what we're really focused on doing primarily with our clients today.
Thank you, Stephen. It is having that competitive edge is so important, and we have such a great opportunity now to create. I always talk about the art of the possible, right? And bringing your clients, bring in both internal and external clients, and you can really create some very interesting solutions that, to your point, drive revenue and that competitive edge. So thank you. Peter, I'm going to turn to you and ask a very similar question. I know Markham, within Markham, you guys are working on so many amazing things, and congratulations on the release of your new platform, Markham AI. Generative AI seems to be moving very quickly not only within the industry but within Markham itself. How are you prioritizing what to work on, and how are you keeping up?
Thanks, Andrea, and hello, everybody. So for us, it's the number one priority is education and knowledge. This is moving very, very quickly, and we're all responsible as technologists to bring our organizations or our clients along with the journey. But the training, interestingly, within Markham, it's educating every employee of the organization on the benefits as well as the risks. Because there's a balance between the two, using it properly. It's also to train our technologists to be able to consume at a more rapid pace and to be able to pivot and move quickly. So for us at Markham, training was a very big deal. And we've been, the moment this stuff really hit, let's say late 22 and early 23, we've been accelerating knowledge to anybody who would have a say or a contributing factor in our ability to consume the generative AI technology. The other thing is the whole kind of a build versus buy. We all could certainly burn a lot of cycles building, but at the rate this is moving, a lot of people are going to build for us. So you have to balance that. And what we chose to focus on with the release of our product is the platform. We wanted to be able to make sure our entire platform is architected correctly to consume AI in the most secure fashion possible. Again, that risk versus reward. So we spent many cycles and months just positioning our entire ecosystem to consume the AI in a rapid pace and a secure pace. And then the other thing that we are highly focused on is the prompt engineering. So a lot of this technology depends on prompts and how you put those prompts into the engines to get the right outputs. So playing with different prompt methodologies and prompt strategies. So with the platform and the training and some I guess knowledge around how to deliver the correct prompt to get the right output, that's how we're keeping up and prioritizing right now.
That's great, Peter. I know I'm starting to see a number of companies come up regarding prompt engineering. I'm just curious, how did you tackle prompt engineering and training within Markham and training your team?
So we're partners with Microsoft. And Microsoft, obviously, with their investment in OpenAI, is a leader in this space, and being that we were already a Microsoft consumer, we've spent countless hours. I can't tell you how many hours with Microsoft and their engineering team and their talent, exposing their knowledge to our team to, again, excel. It's all about acceleration and consuming information. I'll give you another example. What we did is just last week, there was the Microsoft's AI conference down in Florida. We sent our entire development team. Everybody who's involved in some way, shape, or form on being able to contribute to the consumption of AI and adoption of it within our practice into our applications. We sent them down there to get them exposed to the latest and greatest so that they can think about that and incorporate it in. We've been running webinars within our organization to our employees, training them or teaching them and educating them on the platforms and the technologies and capabilities. And actually, even a few weeks ago at our annual partner retreat, I was on the stage for about an hour speaking to our entire executive partnership group, teaching them about AI and educating them to the promise and risks and strategies for what we're doing in the future.
That is great. And it sounds like you've got an incredible amount of not only investment in your talent, but really encouraging your whole organization to come on board and to learn with you. I want to pivot quickly. We've got a question here on the board from 𝗂𝗸𝗏𝗃. What practical strategies do you recommend for CIOs to approach implementing AI at companies? Stephen, can I have you take that one?
Sure. So I think from an architectural standpoint, managing the ethical aspects of AI as intellectual property really requires organizations to extend their focus beyond the traditional concerns of privacy and fairness, and focus on transparency to really encompass the impact on employee wellness and the human elements of AI implementation. And so the way that we're handling this at Metaspark, for instance, which is one of the SaaS platforms we've developed that incorporates a huge amount of generative AI and other types of AI into it to enable employees to be more efficient, is really understanding how AI systems can affect things like job roles, employee satisfaction, mental health. And I think companies should really prioritize developing AI technologies that augment human, work rather than, fully replace it.
Well, and I love the aspect of, the focus of mental health and mental wellness as well. And that's where we can incorporate a lot of that within our platforms, and such an important aspect of the whole technology component. I know there's so many success stories that we're starting to read about and posted on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear a success story from you all. Peter, you talked a little bit about askmarkham.ai. Love to hear more about that. And then any tips for organizations putting together their roadmap?
Sure. So for askmarkham.ai, we just announced the release of that platform just actually last week. That was all about setting up a way that our people had the best experience with leveraging the generative AI technologies. So what we did is we chose Microsoft Teams as the enabler for executing on that. So we were able to set up the Microsoft Open AI architecture, secure it within our firm. And what our development team did is they built a product that is built directly into Teams that has access to the entire generative AI suite of tools that Microsoft has available to it. And for us, again, it's we want to have the platform where people feel the most comfortable. Everybody's in Teams every day. Everybody's chatting, and we wanted to bring it forward into the forefront of what people do. And what we've done is we actually monitor and review how people are using it, because it's all about identifying opportunities. And I'm one person. On my IT team is 250 people, but our firm is 4,500 people. And some of the ideas on how to really flex and leverage this technology come from anybody. So for us, setting up that environment, that was a huge thing on why we did this, that everyone felt comfortable in, to be able to identify how people are using it, and then from there start creating a pipeline of and a roadmap for how to extend the consumption of the technology in our firm for multiple use cases.
I think it's so interesting in terms of how you're tracking it also. I was grateful I was able to see a little preview of it before it went live. And I just think what you guys are doing is incredible. And that tracking component on what people are asking, how they're asking it, not only can help the platform evolve, but also really pinpoint on some really practical use cases to go after. Next, I'm going to pivot here, Stephen, to you for a moment. We've got a question on the panel here. Several of the companies we work with have also said that they're concentrating on augmentation rather than replacement.
Right.
How are you training employees with AI?
So I think our approach has been more focused on taking the use cases that come from our employees and our clients' employees and developing systems that are considerate in that particular area of not fully replacing a human using an automation system or an AI-based tool, and really focusing on empowering people inside the organization. If I go back to Metaspark, and I'll little shameless plug here, is we've designed the Metaspark platform, which serves a large majority of our customers, as well as new organizations that sign up for the platform. And what we focused on is reducing the administrative overhead for project managers, for instance, as one of the use cases. So instead of trying to replace project management with AI and providing updates automatically and just completely cutting out the human in the process, we built a platform that utilizes generative AI to generate project plans, generate all the details for those project plans in terms of the exact instructions on how to execute a project, and then provide all the stakeholder updates automatically, every single week for the project manager. And this really reduces the stress, the difficulty in defining the work structure for brand new projects across every domain area that the organization might request from that project manager. So I think it's the practical application and the focus on improving efficiency and process that we look at versus the training of employees.
That's great. And Stephen, I've had an opportunity to try out the Metaspark platform. Amazing platform, really streamlines the whole project management experience, and also, just the outcomes that can of everything from reporting to project status reports to all different audiences. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Dan, would love to turn to you. You've been, I know, doing some amazing work at PeopleRain. Would love to hear about your success stories and just share with us some of the great work you've been doing.
It's my favorite part of the work that I do. It's interacting with amazing customers and being inspired by them. Last week, I was on site with a new PeopleRain customer that has a call center of 200 people who I met supporting 300,000 internal employees. And I had an amazing opportunity to shadow a few of the technicians that just went live with PeopleRain. And to the comments I made earlier, this was a textbook example of where they picked a business problem and they identified a success metric. And the success metric is what they call a friction score. And so it turns out this organization is one of the largest streaming movie platforms in the world. And the problem that they had is when movies were being produced or software was being developed to stream the movies, too often employees had routine requests. Systems were down, IT-related issues. There were delays getting access to certain technologies, or HR issues came up, onboarding, offboarding, things like that were creating friction. And they were actually able to calculate the amount of friction that was created between the employer or the systems and the employee. And they turned to PeopleRain to assess and automate all of the mundane tasks that were kind of gumming up the system and increasing this friction score. And so I had the opportunity to see how using PeopleRain, using AI, using automation, the 200 call center agents were on average reducing the time it took to research and resolve each employee issue by an hour. And I saw how world-changing it was for them. What I witnessed is that these 200 call center agents were coming into work with kind of a little spring in their step. This was not the bot apocalypse. Nobody told them that AI might take their job. In fact, AI made them the best versions of themselves. It gave them back an hour plus per day to be the best versions of themselves at work. Maybe, you know what? Maybe they get out of the office a little bit earlier, see the kids' soccer game, go to the kids' recital, be a better spouse, parent, friend, pursue a hobby. That's the future of AI. It's not about AI taking jobs. AI is great at doing tasks, and those tasks, once automated, free up us all to be the best versions of humans that we can be.
You know, I love the spring in the step analogy. And it's, I mean, if you can save people time and save time, especially in roles, anything to do with mundane tasks, so they can pivot to more, you know, strategic aspects of their job, that's incredible. You've talked a little bit about talent, and I know we have several questions about talent in the chat here. I'd love to stay with you, Dan, to learn more about how you've talked a little bit about how AI can benefit employees. If you can expand upon that a little bit more, and then thinking about talent strategies. I know we are all wondering what's next. What roles are coming? What do careers look like? You know, are there any jobs that potentially could be at risk? So we'd love to just hear more about that from you.
And this comes from the amazing, talented James, who's my buddy and asks a great question. The key thing to think about is what it's like to be an employee in an era when increasingly your colleague is a bot. And part of the role of a technology leader is to be not just a technologist, but to be a human first. And perhaps sometimes a psychologist, and get in the head of an employee who might feel destabilized by technology. They might be grappling with what their relationship should be with the machine that could threaten them, but it could create opportunities for them as well. So what we want to do is create lots of forums where employees feel like they're being listened to, like they're trusted, they're valued, they're respected. And we want to share examples like the one I shared a minute ago about giving an employee back an hour per ticket in the call center to be the best version of call center agent, or an employee, let's say in marketing or finance or sales or legal, what it means when all of a sudden the drudgery of work goes away. Like the things that you look at your calendar and you're like, I don't want to do that. Like that thing saps my energy. I want to focus on the things that I derive energy from. That's the future of work. And that's how we should communicate the value of AI. Just imagine a time when all the things you hate doing go away, and what's left is the things that you're passionate about. That's how, as leaders, we should communicate what this technology is capable of doing, and not focus on some of the negativity, not focus on some of what we read in the popular press, the kind of science fiction notions of the bots out to take your job. They're just not true. Right. And even as the technology gets smarter, we can continue as leaders to integrate it into work processes to humanize work.
And it really goes back to your original, you know, when you, the first question and your concept of team human, and pulling employees together to create forums, to drive that excitement, to, you know, that's really where you're going to get some of the best use cases also, right? Peter, what is your view on generative AI's impact on people's jobs? And in terms from a leadership standpoint, how do leaders manage this within people? We always hear people, process, and technology. So all of those aspects.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, I don't believe, we've all had to deal with change management. Whatever technology is being thrown our way, whether it's this, whether it's blockchain, whatever technology flavor of the month, year, day, it's about change management. And this, I think, plays the same sort of a process flow of how do you get your organization to change or consider the impact of the change and be on board with the change. And I think it's a community effort. You have to bring the whole organization along with you. I mean, Dan was talking about all those great use cases that exist out there. I'll give you an example of something we did to help sort of manage through this. Is we are holding a raffle now every 2 weeks on the most creative use of our generative AI product. So our employees have the opportunity to log into a site and put in what they tried to accomplish before they went to the product, what they put in there, and then the results and how it impacted their life. And we're collecting on average about 30, 40 submissions a week. And every 2 weeks, we look through all of them and we award out a gift card, recognizing the person who came up with the most creative idea, and we post it online. And it's creating so much excitement on real live usage of these products, and how they could help people and sort of demystify the fears around a lot of this. We talked about tasks. This is all about tasks that, honestly, we all go get educated and want to really stretch our minds and really have a contribution to our organization. Tasks get in the way of that. Tasks we don't generally like to do get in the way with that. And this is an enablement to displace those tasks and focus on some of that higher value work. I think a lot of people get stuck right now on, oh my God, all these things are going to change. I think you have to sit there and say, well, what's not going to change? And if you kind of do that side by side, you'll see that a lot of things are really not going to change. Less things are going to change than we think in terms of our everyday just work and our contributions to our jobs. As Dan kind of doubled down on what Dan said, is we're going to get more time back to focus on more items, things that are more personal in nature, more of that human touch. We're going to spend more time on the human touch aspects of our lives. And I honestly feel already with the use of it personally, that there's a lot of things that I used to I dread looking to do, that now I could get them done so much more quickly and move on to the things which really want to get me out of bed in the morning, get me excited about, every day.
Well, I love the raffle concept. And I mean, talk about, generating excitement and engagement within your organization. And I think, coming full circle about exciting your employee base and demystifying it all. And that it's all about, making things simpler for you in life. And if there's tasks that you can simply do through your platform and focus on the more important aspects, and it's more time that you have back to your family, and more time for, as you mentioned, those projects that get you out of bed every single day. So, Stephen, how about you? Tell me a little bit about, within CloudScale and Metaspark in terms of talent management, and as leaders, what should we be thinking about in terms of skilling up, leveling up our teams?
So I think my answer is really focused on the practical application of this technology inside the business and how it's approached. And I think that the proof is in the actions that the technology teams and the business owners take in integrating this technology and taking the use cases, and just how much of the human element they maintain when deploying those solutions. I kind of go back to what I said before. It's like when people, when we talk to business leaders or technology leaders of our clients, and they bring these questions to us, our response is to bring up Metaspark and show how we're augmenting and reducing the workload on project managers, or some other solution we've built for generating contracts, automatically based on an organization's data set. summarizing contracts. And I think we always bring up a very concrete, practical solution we've built and use that to demonstrate how to deploy AI in a responsible manner.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and it's all, you talk a little bit about responsible manner. And I know, ethics is a big component to this. And also from a security standpoint, we have a question in the chat. I'll throw out the question and anybody feel free to take it. From Susan Torney, thank you for the question. What do you say to an InfoSec leader who just says no AI? How would you approach changing their perspective?
I think we really focus in on the things that bother security and IT leadership most, which is the potential loss of intellectual property into public models and public SaaS kind of shared, vector database platforms. And there's a lot of them out there, and there's not a lot of transparency around how they're architected. So what we do is we focus in on, some of the solutions that are out there for ensuring you can maintain your own intellectual property while also deploying something, as simple as a ChatGPT type capability inside the organization. So we've, for instance, developed a custom framework called 𝗏𝗏, and organizations can purchase this framework. It gets deployed inside of the customer's own environment, and it includes the customer's own data set and own vector databases. There's zero potential for that to leak out into public space. As soon as we go through that, a lot of the walls and the guard comes down. I think that's really what everyone's afraid of, is all the stories that have come out about lawyers using the system or this other person using the system to create some intellectual property, and that leaking out into the public domain. So that's the first area we address, and I'll let someone else speak to other areas, obviously.
Yeah, I would say that I don't think it's wrong for head of security InfoSec to raise that red flag. I think it's an awareness that has to be grappled with, and I think everybody's risk profile is a little different. So if you're an organization that's dealing with PII, PHI, public company information, well, your risks are extremely high. If you're a marketing agency, maybe not so much, and you have to balance that risk. I'll just say we actually, back in early 23, we blocked AI. The risk profile for the data we had was too high, and not because we were, the data was going to leak out, but we don't know how people were going to use the technology. And we had to make sure that we put the guardrails in place. So the moment we communicated that we're going to put guardrails in place and we're going to open this back up. And that's why we built the platform. But I think I think it's absolutely great that an InfoSec leader brings this to the attention. I think we'd be naive if we thought, oh, we're all good. And then just how do you action that with a plan to have generative AI be an enabler securely is where you have to go to.
Yeah, I think it's such a great point. And that partnership with your security team is so important. When we built our internal model here within 𝗁𝗏𝗄𝘆, our security team were joined at the hip the entire way. And you really need to be. And constantly be pen testing, constantly be checking. So, Dan, any additional comments from your perspective?
There are 3 principles of responsible AI, and every organization that's engaging in an initiative that's AI first should take these into account. 1, the system needs to be transparent. Anyone whose data is being used or who will be impacted by decisions made automatically by AI must be aware that those decisions were influenced by AI. 2, the system must be configurable. If we don't like the outputs, then we must be able to tune the inputs to be able to adjust how the system responds. It's not about autonomous agents running rogue. We on Team Human have the responsibility to make sure we control how and what and when AI is used. And number 3, to practice AI responsibly, it must be predictable. The same inputs must generate the same outputs. In order to gain the trust of your users, your customers, anyone who might be impacted by the AI needs to feel like the system has some guardrails. So when it comes to, Andrea, I 100% agree with what you said. When it comes to the InfoSec dialogue, it's not us versus them.
Right.
It's us together. And as long as we think about transparency, configurability, predictability, everyone's on the same side of the table, because we all want the benefits of AI, but we all need to get comfortable asking not just what could go right, because as technologists, we love talking about what could go right. But as a partnership with InfoSec and other parts of the business, we need to get comfortable asking, hey, what could go wrong? And mitigating the potential impact of that up front.
Yeah, that's so important, especially when, I know there's a lot of articles written about hallucination. And to your point about predictability, being able to train the importance of prompt engineering, it all factors back into making sure the outcomes are accurate and, to your point, predictable.
Hey, Andrea, I just want to throw one thing in there for the audience.
Yeah.
We all, I believe, have an added responsibility to look at all the vendors that are providing services to us in an extra light that we might not have before. Every one of us in our internal businesses are driving towards generative AI or AI. So are they. And we have to now make sure that they're responsibly using it as a vendors of ours. Even if it's a vendor we've had for 5 years, we need to double check those on a go forward basis.
That's such a great point. I mean, just overall vendor due diligence, rigor, and especially for those of us who serve clients, I mean, that is of utmost importance in terms of making sure that's complete. I want to just transition really quickly. Oh, Stephen, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment. I think, I heard earlier there was just reference to build versus buy. And I did want to just point out one, because I know we've been talking about this, at length in terms of how do you control, the use of these technologies in the environment. So I think, one of the issues with buying versus building is it does become more difficult to centralize the management, auditing, and kind of control of these tools. Now, Microsoft has released some pretty amazing, systems in Azure from a security and compliance standpoint for monitoring how people are using the technology. But I think if you build your own centralized, vector databases, data lakes, and large language models, you can utilize tools like 𝗏, which is this local interpretable model agnostic explanation system to help you monitor how people are using the large language models, what they're typing in, what the meanings might be, and you can better audit these systems. You also, get the opportunity to use tools like Google's What If tool or Facebook's Fairness Flow and integrate that into your applications, your large language model applications, to deal with bias detection and other types of assessments around how people are using the platform. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. There's so many, with implementation of these tools, there's so many considerations that we need to be thinking about in terms of guardrails, overall privacy protection, and governance. So great point. Thank you, everyone, for your comments on that.
Thank you.
Last question that I have for you, and then I'm going to also pivot to some questions that we have in the chat. I just want to hear a little bit about what you all think of the future of AI. Dan, I'm going to start with you. How do you think this technology is going to evolve over the next decade? If you looked into your crystal ball.
The crystal ball these days, it's murkier than it's been in the past. But I certainly having hosted over 250 episodes of AI in the Future of Work, I've got conviction around a few things that some real experts have to say about what's ahead. One thing I will say is that as we see more and more of these kind of emergent technologies enter the workplace, what you'll see is that tasks that follow the pattern of the 3 Ds will increasingly be outsourced to robots or to automation technologies. They're either dull, they're dirty, or they're dangerous. So as you think about what it means to celebrate your colleague being a bot, think about any of those 3 tasks as being good candidates for automation. And I'll focus on the topic of dangerous tasks. I never want to send another human into a minefield to detect where the next mine is.
Yeah.
I never want to send a human onto an oil rig that's dangerous and dirty. I never want to send a human into a cave to excavate rare earth minerals. These are tasks that I'd rather see humans trained to do from the comfort and safety of an office or a lab where they're controlling robots that are doing the dull, dirty, and dangerous tasks on their behalf. And I use that almost as a metaphor to think about, what it means when not just do we get time back, but we can invest in the skills required to exercise AI responsibly, like I shared. I think what's going to happen is you'll see that far more jobs will be created than will be eliminated. When you think more broadly about what it requires for humans to cultivate these skills, we should be thinking about reskilling and upskilling and all of the new opportunities that AI is going to create when we have increasingly machines doing work that was traditionally not required for humans to do, but we now have the capabilities to be the best versions of humans doing human tasks and letting machines and AI technology do all the things that really humans shouldn't have been doing in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and what a great way to approach it, right? Dull, dirty, and dangerous. I mean, I love those, the three categories to when you think about how to approach it and, getting some real value. Thank you. Peter, how close do you feel, we've heard the term AGI, artificial generative intelligence. How close do you feel that is? And what would be limiting our ability to get to that next evolution of AI?
Yeah, so whether it's artificial general intelligence or ASI, artificial super intelligence, I think there's a lot of toll gates between where we are today and achieving some of those hyper AI statuses. I think a lot of the issues are around the computational power it takes to achieve some of those goals. So for me, it's gated behind a couple of things. One would be quantum computing. I think once we achieve quantum computing, which if you kind of go and do a poll of when that's coming, as early as 2028, 29, 2030, when it becomes really viable, maybe a few years behind that. And then there's going to be with the larger computational power needed, regardless of where it comes from, all the energy and cooling to kind of keep all that stuff running. So this isn't, people like, oh, is AGI coming tomorrow? No, I wouldn't worry about that. I think there's all the practical things we talked about and usability today is here. But all that other stuff, I think we have at least 4 to 5 years to see how that sort of plays out. And I think a couple of people touched on it, but this is moving so quickly. You ask the same question of any of us, a month from now or 2 months from now, we might have a whole different story.
It's so true, isn't it? I mean, but, quantum computing, you brought that up, and it's, before we know it, time flies by so fast. And it's you can never keep your foot off the gas pedal when it comes to this stuff. Stephen, I want to just get your perspective on this, and just how everything is going to be playing into the transformation of the workplace and business practices of the future. Oh, you're on mute, Stephen.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was just going to say there's really no known examples of AGI business, driven solutions to use and as an example to talk about. But I just truly believe that 100% the toll gates that exist will eventually be addressed, and when they are, companies that are focusing on developing concepts for AGI-driven business solutions or offerings, and have a roadmap for that at a very high level, will have a strategic advantage in the future. And I think as I was saying before, the data and what's the models that are developed using that data as intellectual property will be the most strategic assets that organizations have going into the future. And I can think of 3 clients I'm working with right now who are literally replacing revenue they're losing in real time with these types of AI-driven retail solutions that they're selling to their actual competitors. And that's a pretty interesting, very interesting development in the space we're working on. We went from working on large language models, as chatbots for organizations to developing, retail offerings. And I think that's just a pretty amazing thing. And I think really speaks to why it's so important to think about AGI and a roadmap for it, regardless of the computational power or other things that exist today, and just having that, in your back pocket.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities within every industry. Think about it with healthcare. Think about how can it advance, and getting down to overall wellness. There's, again, just so many opportunities. I know we have to wrap up here.
I agree with Robert there.
Yeah, let me just make that statement from Robert. And thank you for this, Robert. I agree, but why are there no AGI business-driven solutions? It shouldn't stop us from imagining the possible for when it is. So absolutely. And there are so many questions in the chat we weren't able to get to. If anybody, feel free to reach out to any one of us with your questions. We'd be happy to help you. Again, just to wrap up, I really want to thank the Institute for Digital Transformation for having us this week. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Dan, for your wisdom and inspiration for us all. And I encourage everyone to connect with all of the panelists, and also stay tuned for next week at noon. Robert's going to be conducting the show about what the era of digital looks like, and some incredible inspiration and wisdom that we're going to hear from the fellows of the Digital Institute. So with that, thank you again. Before I close, I am hearing that we're being asked if we want a part 2 show. And I think it would be so interesting if this group came back together even 3 months from now, just to talk about how it's evolved. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think answering all those questions one more time, after having some time to think about that too, would be an amazing opportunity. So
yeah, that's great. Well, again, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. And thank you to the audience, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you for joining our Digital Dialogue. Be sure to join our next Digital Dialogue on the first and third Tuesdays of every month.